Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah al-Kareem. I welcome you all for today's class. Today it's 29th of July, Wednesday, and this class will be the continuation of Chapter 17. Last class we discussed a few important things. We discussed about the classification of different types of energy resources. We discussed about the renewable and the non-renewable resources. Renewable resources, they are you know uh, resources which are really readily available in the nature and which do not cause greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, and it doesn't even produce sulfur dioxide. Okay, they are safe to use. Okay, and once they get over, they can be reproduced. Okay, they can be effectively, they can be you know uh, reproduced later. Whereas the non-renewable resources, they cannot be reproduced, they cannot be brought back once they get over. Okay, so for example, coal, uh, crude oil, nuclear resource, all these things, when they get exhausted, that's it, we cannot get it back. Okay, so these resources, non-renewable resources, they are finite, that is, they are very limited, and they might get over when they are used up. Okay, so today we are going to see different kinds of methods, systems through which we generate electricity. Last class we discussed about the method how electricity is produced, basically the process, how the stored energy is extracted from fossil fuels like oil, gas, or otherwise nuclear fuel, and that energy, that stored energy, is converted into heat, and that heat, it boils up water which produces high pressure steam. This high pressure steam then drives the turbine, it rotates the turbine has this generator, the generator which has the magnet, and this generator, when it rotates, it produces electricity, and this is how electricity is generated. Okay, so let us see different systems, how electricity is generated with the different methods. Okay, which come from renewable as well as non-renewable resources. Okay, so our first system which we are going to discuss today is hydroelectric power. Hydroelectric power stations, they use the stored GPE of water in high reservoirs built in mountains. Okay, so like we discussed before, anything which stays at a high altitude, okay, we will say that it has a stored energy known as the GPE. When it falls from that place, it loses its GPE. Okay, and that GPE is then converted into other energies. Okay, so the same GPE is used from the moving water, especially with the water which falls from a higher altitude. The GPE is transferred into kinetic energy as the water flows down the mountain to power the station below. So basically there is a turbine, okay, at the base of the waterfall, okay, which is driven by the flow of the water which falls from above. So here we should remember these energy changes which happens in this process. The gravitational potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, then finally it is converted into the electrical energy which is then supplied to the towns and the cities, etc. Okay, so this is how the process is. Okay, so the water flows here this way, right, through the penstock, and then it rotates the turbine which is connected to the generator. Okay, so this generator is then it's connected to the power lines which is then supplied to the stations, or directly it is sent to the cities through power grids. Hydroelectric power, it's a renewable resource because we get it always from the sun, causes the water to evaporate continuously to be drawn up into the atmosphere. Okay, so the sun does the job. This water then falls as rain to be collected in reservoirs and used again and again. Moving water is a renewable resource, as we know. Okay, so this water cycle, this process gives us unlimited supply of this renewable resource. Alhamdulillah. What are the advantages and disadvantages of hydroelectric power? Advantages: they are renewable. There are no greenhouse gases. Doesn't cause acid rain. Doesn't give out any radioactive waste, and it has a short startup time. That is, after the construction, after the installation, immediately it kickstarts the production of electricity. What are the disadvantages? It can be installed in very limited locations. It also affects the wildlife. It affects the animals, the birds as well, and it is very expensive to build as well. Our next system is tidal power generation. Okay, so this is nothing but generating electricity with the power of the moving water. Okay, especially caused by the tides. Okay, so the moving water caused by the tides is used to drive a turbine directly, which rotates an electrical generator. Okay, here the energy changes. The process here is the GP of the water is converted into kinetic energy, then it is converted into electrical energy. Okay, so this is how it happens. So the tides, they move in. Okay, this the power of the tides. Okay, it allows the turbine to rotate. It drives the turbine. This is then connected with a motor or a generator which produces electricity, and this electricity is then supplied to the towns or the cities through the power grid. So this is the power grid. Power grid consists of the wires and the pylons. Okay, so the energy for the movement of the tides, it is provided by the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. So that's why it is a renewable resource. Okay, using a small fraction of the continuous supply of gravitational energy. Okay, so what are the advantages and disadvantages of tidal power? Tidal power is a renewable resource, doesn't produce greenhouse gases, doesn't produce either it doesn't produce either acid rain, okay, no radioactive waste, and it has a very short startup time as well. What are the disadvantages? It can be constructed or installed in very limited locations. It also affects the wildlife, the fishes and birds as well, and it's very expensive to build. Our next system, it's the wave energy system. This energy system is a very uh, kind of a latest one. This energy can also be extracted from the waves of the ocean. The continuous movement of the surface of the seas and oceans is the result of a combination of tides and wind. Okay, so here the energy changes is the kinetic energy is converted to electrical energy, the kinetic energy of the moving waves. So this is the setup. This is how it works. This is how the system is. The rising water column pushes air past the turbine. Okay, it causes the air to rotate the turbine. Okay, and as usual, this turbine is connected to a generator which produces electricity. The falling water column sucks air back past the turbine, which allows the turbine to spin further. Okay, what are the advantages of wave energy? It's again the same features, the same advantages it has. It's renewable, doesn't produce greenhouse gases, neither acid rain, neither radioactive waste. Okay, so it doesn't need any land area. Okay, because it just needs the bed of the ocean, and it has a very short startup time. What are the disadvantages? It's unreliable because nobody can predict. Okay, the movement of the waves, what will be the frequency, can only be used in areas with suitable waves. Okay, there are certain oceans, certain seas which doesn't even have waves on it. Okay, and it is prone to storm damage. Many needed to produce the same energy of a small thermal power station. Okay, so that leads to cost factor. Okay, it needs to be spent lots of money to build this system, and it is also a danger to shipping. Ships can get damaged, they might hit, and they might suffer because of the damage. Our next system is the wind power system. See, wind is used to rotate a turbine which turns an electrical generator. So these are windmills. These windmills, they are connected to the generators. Okay, so these generators, they have massive um, you know magnets which produce electricity when they are being rotated. Okay, so what are the energy changes which happen inside them? The kinetic energy is converted into the electrical energy. Okay, so there are many windmills like these. Okay, wind power units like these even in our state Tamil Nadu. Mostly it is found in Kanyakumari region. Okay, some of you might have traveled to Tirunelveli or Kanyakumari. You would have seen these farms on either side of the highway. See, winds are powered by the sun's heat energy. When the sun heats up the sea, the sea, it gets evaporated, and that's the evaporated wind which blows through, into the atmosphere. Okay, so the wind is also a renewable resource of energy. Okay, that has been used for many centuries. Windmills have been used for to grind corn and power machinery like pumps and drain. Okay, and lowland areas today wind turbines drive generators to provide electrical energy. And for your information, it was Umar radiallahu anhu, the second Khalifa of Islam, who wanted to install uh, windmills in Medina for grinding purpose. Alhamdulillah. The advantages of wind power is, it is a renewable resource. Similarly, it doesn't produce greenhouse gases, no acid rain, no radioactive waste. It is expensive to build, and it has a short startup time. That is, after installation, it produces electricity instantly. Disadvantages: it is unreliable because it needs wind, and nobody can predict when the wind will blow faster. The frequency of the wind, the direction, nobody can predict. That's why it's unreliable. It is best used in places where they will be often regarded as unsightly. That is, it really spoils the landscape. It really spoils the scenery. That's why it is a disadvantage. Many turbines are needed to produce the same energy of a small thermal power station, so you need lots of turbines. Okay, and it produces even noise, and it's a danger to wildlife. Birds and other animals, okay, can be harmed. Our next system is a solar power generation. Electricity can be produced directly from the sun's radiation. Okay, photovoltaic cells, these are the solar cells. They transfer directly the light energy to electrical energy. Okay, so just look at the structure, look at the color, the coating. It's dark. Why it's dark? Because it's a good absorber. Okay, it's a good absorber. You have studied this in thermal energy chapter, that the solar panels, they are painted with dark color paint. Why? Because they absorb light very effective way. But these photovoltaic cells are around 15% efficient. That is, only 15% of the sun's energy is transferred to the useful electrical energy. Okay, with regards to the energy changes, the light energy is converted into electrical energy. Okay, what are the advantages? It's a renewable resource. It doesn't produce greenhouse gases, neither acid rain and nor acid radioactive waste. It has also an instant startup time. What are the disadvantages? you know People say that building these photovoltaic cells, it will spoil the farming lands. Okay, and it's unreliable in places like in the UK, because in UK there is very less sunshine. Okay, but whereas in other regions of the earth, like for example tropical region like the Arabian Peninsula, and in South India, Tamil Nadu, where we get plenty of sunlight, that will be reliable here. But in most of the European nations, it's unreliable. Okay, can be only used during the day because it needs sunlight. We only get it during the daytimes, and it is only 15% efficient. Okay, so these are the disadvantages. Next is about solar heating. There is a similar process, but slightly different from the the previous one. Okay, here the energy from the sun is focused onto the pipes containing water. Then this water, when it boils up, producing the steam, the steam is then channelized to drive the turbines, which in turn produce electrical energy. Okay, so basically, the water is boiled with the help of the sunlight. The sunlight heats up the water, makes the water to boil, and when it boils up, it becomes steam. The steam is sent to the turbines to rotate. Okay, so here the energy changes are quite different. The thermal energy is converted to kinetic energy, then the kinetic energy is converted to electrical energy. Okay, so these solar heating panels, they are designed in a specific way so that they are efficient enough to produce enough energy. Okay, so the construction of these heating panels is unique. Okay, it has many layers of many components made up of different material. So keeping in mind the thermal efficiency, all these parts are you know manufactured, and they are they are built, right? So three things are taken into consideration: conduction, radiation, convection, to make this as an efficient system. So how does this help in reducing conduction? The water is pumped through copper pipes. These are the copper pipes. The water stays inside the copper pipes, raised onto a copper sheet. The copper is actually, it is used because it is an excellent thermal conductor. It doesn't allow the heat to escape. Okay, then the surface of the sheet, of the copper sheet, is coated with matte black finish, because matte black, as you know, we have already discussed that matte black surfaces, they are good absorbers. Okay, they absorb enough heat. Okay, so this doesn't allow the heat to escape even. Okay, then finally, the glass traps the layer of air, okay, above the copper, to help insulate the unit and retain heat. Actually, when it traps air, that means it doesn't allow convection, or the convection currents to happen, and further it will reduce the escape of the heat process. Okay, so this is another system similar, with based on the similar concept, that electricity is generated using solar heating. It has curved mirrors. Okay, they are focused to receive the thermal radiation, and onto a boiler or pipes containing water to produce steam. The mirrors are controlled to reflect the sun's heat onto a central tower throughout the day. Okay, so uh, the sunlight is reflected to the tower, onto the central tower throughout the day. The steam can be used to drive the turbines, which can be used to drive electricity generators. Okay, this is a similar kind of setup which is used to again produce electricity. So our next system is geothermal energy. So you might be knowing that in volcanic areas, hot water and steam, they rise to the surface because of the lava, because of the hot rocks here at the bottom beneath the earth. Okay, the water which is there, okay, it boils up, it becomes steam, and it goes up, and it comes out from the earth. So now this steam can be tapped, it can be used to drive the turbines as well. So this is a natural setup. So when the steam comes out, okay, so the steam is then that is channelized to the turbines, where in turn it finally produces electricity. The heat in regions of volcanic activity was produced by the decay of radioactive elements like uranium. Okay, so there are certain radioactive elements present under the soil, that is beneath the earth, which produce all these volcanic reactions. Okay, so what are the geothermal and advantages of geothermal energy power generation? It's a renewable resource, of course, and doesn't produce greenhouse gases, neither acid rain nor radioactive waste. It has a very short startup time, but at the same time, it is very limited to certain locations. Okay, for example, in Russia, in Siberia, these reactors are there, but it can't be found in other regions. Okay, and it's a very expensive project, okay, to build. Okay, so I think this is enough for today. Inshallah, we'll meet up in the next class. Next class, we'll discuss more about certain important things related to nuclear power plant station, and also the other ones such as the coal and oil production. Okay, until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.